Join us on this inspiring episode as we sit down with Teresa Espindola, a remarkable 49-year-old mother of four who defied the odds and transformed her life through powerlifting. From nearly being in a wheelchair to holding national and world powerlifting records, Teresa's journey is a testament to the incredible power of determination and resilience. Welcome to the Happiness on Tap podcast, where guests dive deep into the vulnerable experiences that contribute to their happiness. I'm Leanne Herron, certified health and life coach, owner of Finding Resilience with Leanne, and creator and host of this podcast. This episode is part of our health and wellness series. Thank you for joining us from diagnosis to domination. Teresa Espindola's journey with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome and powerlifting. Hello, Teresa. Thank you for joining me. How are you today?
Doing great. Yes.
So happy to have you here. Can't wait to share your inspiring story with all my listeners. If there is at any point a time where you need to correct anything I say, please feel free to do that. Sometimes I'm not great with pronouncing things. I first met Teresa at a pop-up market and fell in love with her incredible art. We now proudly own and display 13 of her pieces in our home and a few here in my office. Her story will blow your mind. So let me give you a little background on Teresa and how we are where we are today. Teresa is a 49-year-old mother of four who went from being almost in a wheelchair to holding national and world powerlifting records. Teresa was a pretty healthy young lady who married at 19. At 29, she had her first child, then had three more every couple of years. She was pregnant and nursing a baby for 8 years straight, all while her body was failing her because she had a genetic condition she knew nothing about. Every time she was pregnant, she was having muscle spasms in her back that got worse and worse with each pregnancy. By the fourth pregnancy, she was unable to even get out of bed and into her car to drive her kids to school. 2 weeks after her fourth child was born, she bent over to pick up her shoes and severely injured her back. Teresa had herniated a disc and torn muscle. She could not hold her body upright. And as she sat in a doctor's office in the most extreme pain in her life, the doctor gave her an ultimatum. He said, I'm not sure exactly why your spine is compressing, but you need to lose weight. You need to become an athlete, or you will be in a wheelchair within the next 7 years. Talk about scary. She was angry and upset that he said those things, but it got her thinking. She was heavy and unable to walk or even sit in a chair as she has 4 kids. How was she going to raise them? She was fitted for a brace and metal bars to help hold her upright and started intense physical therapy. After a few weeks, she was able to get on an elliptical for a whole 5 minutes before it kicked her off because her heart rate was too high. A good friend of hers dragged her, kicking and screaming, to a weight loss group where they learned about a low glycemic diet. There was a contest for the most weight loss. Teresa is competitive, which I didn't know that about her, but she followed the rules exactly. Over time, she lost 50 pounds. She won the contest. She was now able to do 40 minutes on her elliptical, but she stalled, and she was still having bouts of back pain She didn't feel as fit as she wanted to. Sleeping was torture, and her hips were always in pain. Teresa's oldest daughter had many health problems, and with her research over 5 years and a great genetic doctor, they finally figured out what was wrong with all of them. They have Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome has an S at the end of
Okay,
Ehlers.
Ehlers. Their ligaments are too stretchy. Teresa and 3 of her 4 kids have it, and it can be debilitating. Her spine could not support her properly. She has all of the back problems related to Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, degenerative disc disease, SI joint dysfunction, bulging and herniated discs, narrowing of the spinal canal, sciatica, scoliosis, and the list goes on and on. Teresa likes to research and found that with a good diet and muscle building exercises, that they could improve her quality of life. She tightened up her family's diet by switching to, how is it pronounced?
Paleo diet.
Paleo. Told you I struggle some days. About 8 years ago, she started lifting weights. Teresa could only squat the bar, kinda. She could only bench the bar, barely, but she wanted more. Her best friend became her workout partner and trainer, and they have never looked back. Now she can bench 205 pounds,
Oh,
deadlift, huh?
that's yeah, that's right. 205 pounds. Yeah, I did give you that right information.
Deadlift 405 and squat 295 pounds. Although squatting is still her weakest lift because of her hips, deadlifting can be mentally difficult. Teresa no longer has as much pain daily. She competes 2 to 3 times a year and now has a different outlook on life. Teresa holds national and state records and even a world record. Powerlifting saved her. Teresa hopes to share her life, lifting, diet, and anything else that can possibly help others to make a change to a healthier life, regardless of their circumstances. And that is exactly why I brought you here. Your story is so inspiring. And thank you for opening up and sharing about it to our listeners. And I can't wait to get started. So we're just going to get started right away.
Okay.
So can you share with us the moment that you realized that powerlifting could be a game changer for you and your family's health?
Well, like I said, I when I wanted to move my fitness forward because I lost weight, I felt better, but I still had pain. So I started lifting weights and probably, I don't know, 5 to 6 months into that process, I hadn't even noticed my pain had decreased. You just, when you don't have pain, you're not thinking about it. So it was a realization like, wow, my hips feel better. I'm not, struggling to get out of bed in the morning. Maybe there's something to this. So although I was a little worried to push my body in that direction, I had done a lot of research and I knew that building muscle would make a big difference. So it was that time. But then, my partner was telling me you're getting kind of strong for a girl, which I just lifted what he put on the bar. I honestly wasn't paying attention to how much it was. Just here's this, lift it, put it down. So, I said, I don't think I'm strong for a girl. I'm broken. I can't be strong for a girl. So he did take me to a powerlifting meet. And So as I sat there watching these gals do deadlift, and they were lifting weights that I warm up with. So I was like, wow, and they're setting records. I could do that. So that was a big moment. I'm like, I think I'm going to do a powerlifting meet. I wanted to do one meet. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Did one and it was amazing. And so that was a turning point for me. Yeah. And the more I lifted, the heavier I lifted, the better my body felt. The more my pain went away. So I did start getting my kids into weightlifting more, and my daughter in particular, who's had a rough time with this condition, she also started noticing a difference. So that's what started that. Yeah.
Oh man, and that is amazing. I know that when I went through my weight loss journey and went from just an elliptical or a treadmill to actually adding weights, that's where I noticed the greatest amount of difference in how I felt. Yeah, I felt better, you know, as I was losing weight on the elliptical, I could go further. And I had actually went from teaching myself to run, which I had never been a runner in my life, by using the program, the C to 5K, which would time you and tell you when to run, when to walk, when to run, when to walk. And you would just over time build up distance and speed to where I finally felt like, okay, I can actually run outside my house and not on a treadmill and run like normal people, outside. And had a running partner and really enjoyed it. And then I got kind of back away from it when I lost my running partner and went back to lifting weights. And I was blessed with the opportunity to actually work at a gym that was a 24-hour gym. And I was able to go anytime I wanted, be in there for 2-3 hours, and just loved every minute of it. I loved the flexibility. I loved the strength. But I was also focused on like how much I was lifting. So I had to write it down so that the next day I wasn't starting 10 pounds or 15 pounds less than what I knew I could do. I was starting at where I was and above. So I had to like retrain my brain to focus on, I can do this. And it was also great because I had people there that would push me when I wouldn't push myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also a safe space. Like I didn't worry that if I slipped or did something wrong, that I would be alone doing it like I was at home.
Yeah,
So,
working out at home it's not as motivating. And I did I did train for I did run actually in the beginning. I had my one baby in a jogging stroller, and I trained for a race. I did a Warrior Dash race. So I would go run every morning before I had my coffee, and my coffee was my reward
reward.
for the and I hated every minute of it. It made my body hurt, my joints hurt, everything started aching more. Um, it just was not fun for me. And so, well, I still didn't know what my condition was. Well, running is not good for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's not recommended. Um, it just puts too much wear and tear and a pounding motion on the joints, and our joints are already too flexible.
Mhm.
So that's why it just didn't work for me. I always advocate for people to find what you love. I did go through quite a few programs. I went through some online workout programs. I did running, just some different things. I did some martial arts in my day. It's none of it quite made me feel the pride and the, I guess, the validation of the lifting. When you can walk into a gym and do your lifting and just walk out feeling better, then that's for you. But if you walk into the gym and you lift weights and you hate every minute of it, then don't do it. Find something else. That's okay. You know, my daughter does a lot of martial arts, you know, because and she lifts some in the gym, but not as much as my sons do. So, you know, I really advocate for finding what you love and then moving forward with that. So, yeah, so running wasn't for me. If I'm running, you better run too because something's chasing me, you know.
And
But
thank you for
yeah.
sharing that, because I think, I mean, I even come in contact with people who I share my story of finding meditation to be my tool to improve my mental health, but it's not for everyone. And so, you know, just sharing your story and hearing your story about how you tried it and you found out that it wasn't for you. Um, because I would go into the gym and I would, you know, be there, and women more than anything would come up to me like, my God, you're always here and you're smiling and you're happy and you're just having a great time. Like, how? How do you, where's the motivation come from? And I'm just like, look at this. I have all these toys at my disposal. And I felt so great that I loved going there. But at the same time, I was going there for the wrong reasons, if that makes sense. I was going there to get out of my marriage, to be away
Mm,
from home where I really was the most unhappy. But my workout, my exercise, my weight loss was because I was trying to be somebody else for my husband. I was hoping that if I
mm,
lost weight, things would improve in our marriage. And it took me a long time to realize that I was just trying to fill that empty void inside of me that I was trying to get from somebody else.
okay.
And
I
even
mean, I
though,
did
go ahead.
also I did use the gym for to battle a little bit of depression also. It just, as we know, I had a terrible marriage as well. It was a place to get away. It was a place for me to have something for myself and to do something for me. And he battled me the whole time. When does this weightlifting end? Even though he saw the improvement in my health and my pain going away, it still was, well, when does this weightlifting end? When are you going to get back to, you know, just being the mom and the wife at home? Which made push me to do the powerlifting more because it was something for me. I had all I'd done is give myself to somebody else for so many years, my kids, my husband. So I did use it for that also. And you know, working out actually really releases chemicals in the brain that do battle depression, and it did work for me. I
Mhm.
there were days I was in tears and feeling very down, and my workout partner had to kind of drag me to the gym, but I left happy. I left feeling better. So, you know, that's what you need to find in your exercise journey, something that makes you feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that, because that definitely was the case for me on many different levels. Um, I never had my ex-husband be like, when are you going to stop doing that? It was like he didn't even notice when I was gone.
Mhm.
You know, as long as I was home at dinner time and dinner was ready when he was hungry, it didn't matter what else I was doing, where I was. I even tried to bring, you know, him into the gym and let's do this together. And I think he went once and pretty much said, nope, this is not for me. Do your thing. I don't care.
Mm.
Um, And then I'd get to the gym and I'd walk in, and they used to joke. They used to call me the cruise director, like the Love Boat cruise director, because I'd walk in and everybody's like, she's here, because I would come in upbeat and excited to be there and happy to work with anybody who wanted to work with me. And it turned from going to the gym into a job. I was actually hired in exchange for my gym fees to, you know, do some like customer service stuff. I would schedule people's appointments with their trainers. I would walk people around when they came in and wanted to tour the gym and show them all the equipment. And because I just had this passion. I loved being there because people were happy when I was there. And that was such a change in getting off of work and getting home. And it's like, when's dinner?
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. It really helped you as well. And to find what you love, find what you're passionate about. Running, I think I quit like as soon as I ran my first 5K and went, okay, I don't really find the love. I don't want to keep doing this. I don't want to run marathons and have my toenails fall off and all that kind of stuff. And it was lonely. It was a lonely activity. So again, I was happier in the gym than running.
Hmm.
So how did you navigate the challenges with your health problems and with your children's health problems, and then ultimately discover the connection between Ehlers-Danlos, diet, and muscle building? Like, can you go a little bit more in detail with that?
Yeah. So, my daughter, from the time she was very little, was just full of health issues. She had viruses like every 2 weeks. She was sick all the time. She had joint pain. Her joints would actually get inflamed and red. She had chronic hives. So she would have, you would just touch her and she would get hives. So she lived with hives
Mm,
constantly, which was a battle. She had severe stomach issues. She had heart problems. Her heart rate would just randomly jump up, so fast I couldn't even take her pulse. So I slept with my hand on her heart many nights just because I honestly thought her heart was going to stop. She wore heart monitors. She had an EKG that she carried around. If she had an event, you would call it in and transmits over the phone. Always, they always missed it because it would come and go. And by the time you get through and off hold and get on, it's different now, thank goodness. But it wasn't doing well, so they ended up putting her on a permanent monitor that would just tracked her all the time. And all they could find was this rapid heart rate. There was nothing else wrong, just this tachycardia.
mm,
So that, and it went on, this all went on for many years. In the meantime, I'm also battling my own medical issues and my pain, but that wasn't my priority because
yep.
my daughter was sick. And then when my boys were born, they didn't have as many of the issues. They did have the hives. They had some of the stomach issues, not as severe. But I battled many, many doctors for many years, and she had vision problems. She would lose her color vision, and after a little bit, they kind of started to say, well, maybe this is all in her head. That's always their answer. So I started gathering up my medical records because I was going to take her to Mayo Clinic. And believe it or not, this is where insurance is not always bad. I had it was Loveless, I believe, at the time. They have these nurse health advocates, and they're seeing that I'm getting approval to go to Mayo Clinic. Of course, they don't want to pay for that. So
Mm-hmm.
they have this nurse call me, and she was amazing. I mean, we cried on the phone together. We spent hours and hours on the phone, and she's like, I want you to go see a geneticist in Albuquerque who I think might have answers for you. So before I took my pile of medical records to Dr. Cushing is who it was at UNM Hospital. And we sat down with him, and everybody would always say, oh, she has this or this and this and this. So there's all these problems. But my thought was there has to be an umbrella. What is the umbrella problem? Because you can't just have all these rare conditions
Mm-hmm.
without something causing them. So he actually is the one who diagnosed us. And then he did in the office, he did a test of all of us actually, and it's a flexibility test. They have you move joints certain ways, and I knew I was always flexible for my age. That's just, I mean, I could practically bend backwards when when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So We all passed the criteria. And so he diagnosed us and he gave me a book to read, which was super helpful. And as I read this book, it was by Dr. Tinkle, I think his name is. It's called Hypermobility Syndrome. And it's, which is, there's 9 different types of Ehlers-Danlos. They're still trying to categorize them to this day. But right now it's hypermobility type of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And I read through the book and it kind of explained everything. And at the same time, my oldest son was also starting to get really ill. He actually had a kidney stone when he was 7. Took him 22 days to pass. And then he, a couple months later, went blind for a week, unexplained blindness. He was in the hospital when a migraine hit. So that week of blindness was an aura, a pretty severe one. And then he had a migraine that was so severe they had to restrain him. And then they just brought in a tray of needles and they just start injecting. And then they watch. It's like, okay, get the next one, inject, trying to find something that's going to take the pain away. And then his vision came back. It took like 3 weeks. And he did start seeing a neurologist who said it was related to the Ehlers-Danlos blood vessel issues. And that if he didn't get them under control, he would go blind. So, and then he's also seen a kidney doctor because he has hypercalciuria and he will make kidney stones the rest of his life if he doesn't get it under control. So what did all this mean? We kind of got it all thrown at us at once. And so they started putting my son on a diet restriction. And I was at the time, I was switching from the low glycemic to more of a paleo diet, just because paleo is kind of, if you can hunt it or grow it or pick it, that's what you eat. Kind of just whole foods. It sounded more nutritionally complete to me. So when they went through the list of foods he should be eating, and I asked the doctor, I said, well, this kind of looks like paleo diet. He's like, well, yeah, it's pretty much the paleo diet. He asked me if I knew what that was, and I explained we'd started it. So we all just decided, we don't need to, we did not eat well. We ate Cheetos and candy and sugar and all the horrible things you can eat. So we just completely changed everything because of my son. And when we did that, my daughter started having less heart issues. Her hives started disappearing. My pain started getting better. My vision improved so much so that I thought I needed a new prescription. And I went into my doctor and he's like, your vision is 20/20. He's like, that's kind of odd that your vision got better. And so he's like, what did you do? I told him I changed my diet. And then he explained I'd been retaining water in my eyes my whole life. That's why my vision was horrible. My hands used to get puffy at night. That went away. I had more clarity. I could focus. I just felt some kind of this relief come off of me. My son with the migraine and the kidney stone, he also had some behavior issues at that age. He almost got kicked out of preschool because he bit somebody, and he was just very hyper. Well, he changed overnight. I mean, it was like night and day. He went from being angry in the mornings to where nobody would want to talk to him to just normal kid. And it was life-changing for him. Everybody felt better. We're like, okay, what does this mean? So that's when I started researching more with the diet. Like it all came at once. So I'm reading about this all at once. The heart doctor, we had fired the heart doctor because my daughter had postural orthostatic tachycardia, which I ended up diagnosing after 5 years of dealing with a heart issue. And the treatment, you're going to laugh at what the treatment is. It's more salt. So she has to take salt tablets, life-changing treatment. I had started her on that, noticed the change, called her heart doctor. He says, oh, that could be it. And I said, and by the way, you're fired. I will pick up her records tomorrow. I'm getting a new heart doctor because you've put me through hell by not diagnosing this. So more salt, cleaner foods, and everybody's life changed. We started exercising more to build muscle, and suddenly the hives went away. My daughter's stomach issues went. The gluten was it's a big deal for Ehlers-Danlos. It's very related to celiac, but not in so much in the gut. It does affect the gut, but it affects the whole body, as in the joints and even my daughter's new heart doctor puts all his patients with that condition on a gluten-free diet. So yes, it was all it all came very suddenly, and suddenly we started feeling better, which was I thought that would never come. I thought my daughter would not be able to finish school. I thought she was just going to end up, I honestly thought I might have to take care of her for the rest of her life because she was so ill. So, I mean, she's off in college now on her own, doing martial arts and living up a great life. And um, it's been amazing. So, yeah, I didn't think at that point, I didn't realize food could be so important in your life. I mean, it's to give you an example, my youngest has never had gluten or sugar. He eats sugar, but he doesn't have the processed food that we used to have. He's
Hmm.
the only one who's been clean from the get-go. And he, so far, is not showing symptoms of the Ehlers-Danlos. He could have it and just never manifested. Um, but he ate gluten one time. Accidentally, a teacher gave him a cookie who told him it was gluten-free. It came right back up. I mean, he didn't not hold that down. So, and he's the only one that's not had the hives, the severe hives and the skin issues. Now his digestion is a little slow, which is a problem with this condition. So he just eats slower, kind of instead of just eating super fast. Him and my daughter both have to eat very slow, and they do just fine. So yeah, food is it is it is fuel, and your body needs the right food. And my diet is super strict with this training, and I feel so much better, and I feel so much better eating better that I don't miss the bad food because I don't miss feeling bad. So yeah.
Man, I think you need to have a podcast. One, because your story is something I hear all the time. The complaints, the issues that people are having. And the biggest part of that is that they're not getting that care that you finally found that one person who was able to take everything into consideration and give you a diagnosis. Like people are grasping at straws. In fact, one of my other podcast guests recently moved to an island because they were not getting the help they needed here. And her whole family was having these issues very similar. And in fact, I want to say that she was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos. Um, because even though she tried to be prepared and come in with a list of her diagnoses so that when she met a doctor she could say, okay, I'm already being treated for this and I'm already being treated for this is where I need your focus. She still wasn't getting the care they needed and or the information to make those huge changes. So I can't wait to recommend this episode to her, because she's the same thing. She's gone through a lifetime of these battles. Um, and it's funny that you mentioned the vision, the hives. Um, those were all things too that I was going through prior to changing to a healthier diet and stop eating processed foods. I wasn't eating fast food. I was only, shopping around the outside area of the grocery store. So protein, vegetables, and dairy. And luckily, I don't have any gluten sensitivities. But I noticed that when I went in for a checkup, because I thought my vision had also changed and that I just needed a new prescription, that I went from wearing contacts or glasses to not having to wear contacts or glasses. And also, I learned kind of a valuable lesson that too much of a good thing can be too much of a good thing. And I was going overkill on vegetables that were high oxalate vegetables. So like spinach. So I'd wake up in the morning and like juice spinach, and then I would have a spinach salad with a piece of chicken for lunch. And then again for dinner, I'd have like a salad that had spinach in it. Maybe it wasn't just the main green leaf, but everything I was doing, I was just pouring in these high oxalate vegetables into my diet. And I wasn't having kidney stones in my kidneys. I was having them come out through my skin. So it looked like I had been like in a rollover accident where people end up with like glass trapped under their skin. And so I had this sharp substance that was coming out through my skin. And when I went to a dermatologist and they didn't know what it was, and then they would send me to somebody else and somebody else. And I finally found it through researching myself what high oxalate vegetables were and what they do to your system. And so once I backed off on my greens, they went away. So even now, if I juice greens or if I eat greens, it's not an all day, every day, or even an every day. I've learned to kind of stagger those things so I can still have them, but just be careful because it was creating too much of a good thing. Um, I also had 3 months of chronic hives that no doctor could give me a diagnosis. They kept sending me, allergy specialists. I even had them refer me to a rheumatologist. And the rheumatologist is like, why are you here? Like your blood work is the opposite end of the pendulum. And so she was like, okay, what is your stress level? No other doctor had ever asked me what my stress level was. And it turned out that that's what it was my stress level was so high because of things that my teenager was doing, that's how my body responded to stress. And so I had these chronic hives, and they're painful and they're miserable. The one benefit was got me out of jury duty once. I walked in to check in and they're like, you can leave. Like, I'm not contagious. And they're like, nah, you can leave. But it's surprising. And in fact, just this morning, I was listening to a podcast episode with Mel Robbins, and she was talking with these doctors who are all realizing the same thing, in that stress itself is like a major cause for all of these conditions and all of these diseases. But at no time does a doctor ever ask you.
No.
And
Yeah.
so I've kind of gotten away from Western medicine unless I absolutely have to, like for my annuals or whatever. And even then, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to a specialist. I'm not going to just a regular MD for, an annual. And then, I'm going to a specialist because I want somebody that knows, that isn't going to
Yeah.
waste my time and all of this stuff. And so I'm moving towards more of a regenerative medicine and other holistic medicine providers, because they listen, they give me alternatives instead of a prescription or a referral. They're like, okay, well, let's try this. Well, have you ever tried sound healing? Have you ever tried this? And it's like, I have seen much more of a dramatic improvement in my mental health through holistic medicine and diet change than I ever did with regular Western medicine doctors.
Yeah, I'm very similar. I do have an orthopedic doctor I see who's wonderful. She's a sports friendly orthopedic doctor. She she keeps me going, gets me my physical therapy. I do need to get knee injections, not steroid injections. It's a hyaluronic acid injections because my kneecaps don't have any grooves. They just float around willy-nilly. So that causes a lot of wear and tear. So she gets me my physical therapy when I need it, which is pretty often. I'm in and out of physical therapy all year long. I have one doctor I'm training at the moment. He's very open to listening, and yeah, I say training because you got to get that Western medicine doctor attitude out of them. And
Mhm.
I've made it clear. I said I've worked for the pharmaceutical companies, so don't go there. I will not do that. I only take thyroid medication because I have to. I've not had much of a thyroid since I was 19. I've had Hashimoto's from eating badly. I think that comes from eating badly as a kid. But my thyroid's it's there, but it looks like a little piece of Swiss cheese, so it's not functioning well. But that doesn't stop me either. Um, and then I see, I go to acupuncture or I go to a chiropractor. Um, Chiropractors are a little bit afraid of me because of my condition. So, um, but the orthopedic doctor is great. She's awesome. And I've had a broken rib for 2.5 years now. That I'm training through. Most doctors would say, absolutely, you need to stop weightlifting. You need to rest. She knows better, and she knows my spine is more important. So the ribs become kind of sacrificial. If it heals, it heals. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And it's not because of the lifting. It's because of the location, and because my body doesn't heal bone correctly. It's just how it is. Have had that issue a few times now. So yeah, you can find some good doctors in Western medicine. It's not easy because they have this checklist they seem to need to go through. So, but yeah, I agree. Whole foods. So I do take some supplements because my diet's so strict that I do supplement with some fish oil and turmeric for inflammation and vitamin C and D and all the good stuff because I do have a strict diet. I mean, I eat the same thing every day. I try to vary and bring in more greens here and there. Not too much though, because greens kind of affect me not in a great way. So you gotta find the balance. I can't eat beef. I've become allergic to beef for some reason. So I eat eggs and fish and a little bit of chicken and vegetables. I'm mostly vegetarian in that sense. Um, and I think my body would actually do well on a vegetarian diet, but I need the protein. So, but yeah, I agree. You can. Oh, there's another doctor I see who does some of my. He's the one who monitors my thyroid and gives me a natural. I take a NP thyroid, which is actually made from actual thyroid of I think it's actual animal thyroid, and it's controversial kind of because Western medicine doesn't like that, but it works great for me, and my doctor will prescribe it. He's all about teaching you how to be healthy through diet on your own, rather than offering all these medications to hide the symptoms. So he's another doctor. Dr. Comedina is another doctor I see. But I agree. I've kind of fired a lot of doctors in my life. Yeah. So good for you. I'm glad you're going that direction. It really, once you can make that mind switch, it really, it's eye opening. Yeah.
Mhm. And mine came from um, I had had the same primary care doctor who was an MD uh, for probably, I don't know, 8, 9 years. Um, and we kind of had a normal way that, if I came in for this, then there was always a follow-up. If I knew that I needed to get a biopsy, it was something I had to deal with once a year. Um, but when I had really hit the wall with overwhelm and anxiety and depression, things that I have never had before in my life, but all of a sudden they were so prominent, I wasn't functioning. And I went to her and I said, okay, this is going on. I know what caused it. I know where my PTSD is coming from, but I need help getting out of this darkness and back to my light. And can you please just give me a referral? Because I assumed I needed a referral through, my insurance to start seeing a therapist. I'd never seen a therapist before. And some of that came from, being married to somebody that didn't want not only for himself to go see a therapist, but certainly didn't want me to go see a therapist because I think it was that he didn't want anybody knowing the secrets in our house. And I never knew that I could. Like I could make that choice for myself and just go and do it, because if I didn't have his blessing, then that was going to be a problem. So I just continued to live the way I was living, which was shoving all those feelings down and not talking to anybody about it. And so I go to my doctor, I ask for a referral, and she literally is standing there listening to me, writing me a prescription for an antidepressant. And I said, no, 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 thank you. No, I don't want that. I just need a referral. Just take this and just try it, take it for a couple of weeks. You'll feel better. And then we can read. And I'm like, no, like, I'm not going to feel this. You can just throw it in the trash. I don't want it. And I'm like, you have known me all these years. Do I look like a pill popper to you? Plus, she knew that I was married to an opiate addict. So she knew my personal feelings, my personal issues with medications that were prescribed to my ex-husband through pain management, and that I was not going to go down that road. And so I left. She referred me to like their behavioral health department, who gave me a referral, but the referral was to a domestic violence therapist because that was my past. With my ex-husband, that was my past. And so, of course, since that was in my medical records, and when you look at anyone's medical records, it's going to have that history at the top, overweight, was a smoker, domestic violence. So they just assumed that I was still in that situation and my problems were because of domestic violence. And so I called her back and I said, no, look, like, I'm divorced. I'm out of that situation. I'm happy. I'm having PTSD from something that happened literally 25 years earlier in my life that was becoming a daily episode. And I was having trauma triggers. But I had nobody to explain to me what the hell a trauma trigger was. So they kept giving me these like crazy referrals. Oh, here's this therapist in Santa Fe. Nope, that's not going to work either. And I wanted the one-on-one connection. And we were already kind of out of the pandemic, so people were treating people in office again. And finally I was like, okay, forget it. I'll do this on my own. And my husband and I had went to like a health fair through APS, since he works for APS. And we had went there for our COVID vaccines and to go check out this health fair. And I walked past this table and I was like, oh, you're that little place like right next to my house, literally walking distance. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I grabbed a business card and a brochure and went home and Googled it and looked at it. And I was like, oh, you're a therapist. Like, okay. So I reached out to them and told them, because I had to do like an intake over the phone. And this is what I'm going through. But I had already started like trying to figure out what worked for me. I had already started meditation. I had already, started walking again, getting out. I had started art therapy. I was just trying to find anything that would bring me back to my happy place. And so they were like, "Oh, well, you're like the perfect client, you're not going to need like a lifetime of therapy. We just need to help you get over this edge." And that's really what they did. Like, I didn't stay with going to therapy, although I can, and I liked my therapist, but she saw that I was already on the right track. I just had some things in my past that I needed to deal with or to understand so that I could move forward. And so that really worked for me and helped me get back on track. But also, you mentioned supplements. I had never really been a huge supplement person, but when we started addressing my diet, I had, one of my friends, asked me, like, "You don't eat fish?" I'm like, "No, I don't touch it. No way, shape, form, freshwater, seafood. It doesn't matter. I don't like fish." She was like, "But you're having all these like brain fog issues and memory loss." And those really were more, again, trauma triggers. But she was like, "Maybe you need to start getting fish oil into your diet. Like, your brain is starving for those omegas." I'm like, it's that, I don't want to take those. They're awful. They taste terrible. They're, totally, that was in my own mind because I take them every day. I take fish oil. I take krill oil. I don't taste anything. I don't burp up fish. And my mental clarity is better than it's ever been.
Hmm.
Like, what I struggled with for those 10 months, that was so bad that I like couldn't introduce my husband to people that I had known for years because I couldn't remember their name. And, or I couldn't remember what I had done from moment to moment, or did I do this yesterday? I couldn't remember. It was like a giant etch a sketch. Like, I'd wake up every morning and my memory was gone. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
shit. Like, what does this mean? And then I started questioning, like, if this is my new normal, like, how am I going to address these issues? And so I, like I said, started taking fish oil and krill oil and turmeric and, all those, and vitamin D. I wasn't getting enough vitamin D, and had those levels tested and had somebody that actually sat down with me and went through those tests. It wasn't just this is high or this is low. It was the whole picture. And again, I go back to that's what kind of working with a regenerative medicine doctor gives me, is that one-on-one contact where I'm not only in there for 15 minutes, I may be in there for an hour. But I'm going to get the answers that I need to help me go forward.
Hmm.
So thank you for sharing all of that, because those are all, you know, pieces that either I've struggled with or other people I know are struggling with. So I wrote down that book, Hypermobility Syndrome.
Yes.
And anything else that you can provide, whether you message me and I add it later, uh, books, doctors, people that have helped you that I can add to the show notes that will provide people other avenues, other options, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'll send you a link to the book also. Yeah.
That'd be great, because I will definitely add that. So tell us about your experience competing, because you have all these records too, and you saw, like you said, oh, well, I went to this competition and saw that, these people are winning records, but they're lifting like less than I lift. And wow, I think I can do better than that. Tell us more about that.
Well, yeah, I did. I got super excited to try a competition after seeing that. And so, but I didn't like the feel of that particular organization. I won't go into names of those organizations, but I did feel like there was a lot of selfishness and me kind of walking around. It didn't feel like a sense of community. Wasn't sure I wanted to be a part of that. So I was a little reluctant to compete, but I asked a friend of mine about his suggestions, and he suggested NASA, which is Natural Athlete Strength Association. And they're an all natural, drug free organization. And so I thought I'd give it a shot. And I was overwhelmed with the support and the way it felt like family. And I remember I was warming up for my squats, which is the first lift, and a gentleman came over to me and suggested that I was over warming up, that I was going to burn myself out. He gave me some suggestions. Well, I actually missed my very first squat. I didn't make depth. And so I got red lighted. Well, I didn't know what that meant. I thought, well, am I out? Am I out of the competition? I didn't know what it meant. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody was super supportive, and they're like, you have two more tries. Here's some suggestions. Everybody's like, you can do it. Come on. And I was like, wow, these are my competitors, and they're all like cheering me on. That's kind of awesome. So I went out. I got my second lift. And I remember just, I felt great. And then I I look at my video of that first competition. I went and did my deadlift, and I kind of marched up to the bar, go down, pick it up. This is on my third lift, which is supposed to be the heavy one. I just pick it up, I put it down. I practically skipping off the platform. I'm like, wow, I could have lifted way more than that. I didn't even try. But I actually won first place, and I'm like, huh, well, that's kind of cool. Well, yeah, maybe I'll do another one, and maybe I'll do another one. And I don't even know how. I think I've done like I don't know, 17, maybe more competitions at this point. And it was the family, or the family feeling and the support. And I felt like I found my tribe. Um, and they have been family. NASA has been one of the best things to come into my life, and I compete now because I want to show people who are struggling with any medical issues, because I've seen so many. I competed with a guy who has his spine fused, and he physically can't put his head on the bench, so they'll put a foam block under his head for him. You know, and he's competing. I've competed with 90-year-old men, people who've had their arms completely rebuilt. And this is an older woman, knees replaced, hips replaced. They're all out there competing. So I want people, especially with my condition, to know you can do this. Um, I have one gal who's starting. She has Ehlers-Danlos. She reached out to me, found me online. She did her first NASA competition. She had a little bit of a weird shift in her knees when she was doing a deadlift. So we've kind of worked on correcting her stance, and it was just so exciting for her, and I just want people to know you can do it regardless. I mean, I don't care where you are. There's something out there that you can do sport wise. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter where you are. There's all kinds of stuff you can do, and it's a great to have goals and compete. And I think we all should do something. Yeah. So it's life changing for me. And
And
I
thank
love
you.
supporting people. Yeah, I love when
Mhm.
people come up to me and recognize me. And like you said, kind of the starstruck. I'm like, I'm not really famous or anything, but you know, I see your poster at, the taco place because he sponsors me. He's like, oh, it's nice to meet you finally. I'm like, oh, well, wow, makes you feel good. But
It
yeah.
does. And that's, I love that you're sharing this with, my listeners. And I know that there's going to be people that are going to hear this and go, wow, thank you for sharing. Now I know there's options, or that they know that they can like reach out to you, or, learn from what you've been through and where you are now. And even though you still have struggles and you still have limitations, but you still show up every day because you know that it's an alternative to being back in a wheelchair. And if you quit today, odds are you'd be back in that spot within no time.
Mhm.
And so, and it's hard for people who may just see you on a stage, or people who, are make comments about the way a woman should look or shouldn't look, or whatever, but they don't take the time to hear your story and what got you there, versus judging you based on their knowledge or their bias or their whatever. um so I really appreciate you sharing all of this and the things that your kids have gone through, um because as a parent, it is so hard, like you said, when you set yourself aside because your focus is your children and what they're going through.
Mhm.
um and how you had to lay with your daughter and worry that her heart may stop. And I'm really curious to learn more about the salt thing, because I do recently have a family member who just about had a major heart attack. And what it boiled down to was basically poor choices and not cooking, but eating fast food pretty much every meal every day because
Mm.
it's convenient and damn, it tastes good. Um, but what they found was his heart was like basically being suffocated by the inflammation caused from the salt, because he had just was that's it, he was blowing through fast food every single day. And now he's like, okay, things are going to change, like not just for me but for my kids. And
Well,
watching the kids go, oh, but can't we just go to McDonald's, and it's like, no, it's time for a change for all of us.
yeah, well, salt isn't necessary. It's necessary. But when you have inflammation and then you have high salt, that combination is not good. You know, now I don't recommend everybody go eat a lot of salt. We have to, because our blood vessels are too stretchy, and so the blood volume is we don't have enough blood volume to keep enough blood in our head when we stand up, for instance. So because we're having to feel the void basically. So when you eat salt, it pulls blood into your blood vessels. So it's just a volume equation is all it is. It's yeah, so it's other if we don't eat a lot of salt, the blood pressure drops, and that's blood, so it raises your blood pressure. So if you have high blood pressure, of course you don't want to eat a lot of salt. We have low blood pressure, so low that I've been asked if how I'm standing because my blood pressure is so low. I'm like, I'm fine, 90 over 50, I'm fine, But that's the reason for that. It's a very simple thing, but not everybody should eat a lot of salt. No. So,
Well, thanks for going into that as well. My husband has chronic high blood pressure, and all they do is give him more medication and more medication. um, but he's now at almost 30 days without smoking, and he's amazed at the change, the change in his blood pressure, the change in how he feels. And, again, it's lack of knowledge or not having a doctor who is willing to give you the knowledge and education instead of just prescribing you a higher dose of medication.
mhm.
Um, so I'm hoping he'll listen to this and listen a little more, because we have our kind of our struggles where we disagree. and and I'll tell him, okay, I do have the education to back this, but I'm not perfect and I don't have all the education, and I'm going to continue to get that education, not only for myself but for us, for you, for my daughter who's having gluten issues. um, and she, in fact, we just talked last night, she started seeing a doctor that's kind of doing like a weight loss program through her insurance. And her doctor told her, okay, well, obviously you've had a lifetime of these, you've tried every diet, you lose the weight, you gain the weight. Of course, she's never regained how bad she was. At one point, she was almost 300 pounds, and she's never gone back up there. But she's kind of like I was in my fitness days, where I was addicted to the scale. Like, that scale controlled how I functioned every day. And if I ate poorly, because back then it was like, okay, 6 days eat good, one day eat bad. One day have all those things that you've denied yourself. And then for 3 or 4 days, you feel horrible.
Yes.
And then she started having really chronic gastrointestinal issues. And basically they just said, okay, well, you need to just change your diet. But that was it. Like, there was no education. It was, just change this. And so when she started going through this program, they told her, one, ditch the scale. You're not allowed to look at it, see it, step on it. We'll weigh you when you come in. In the meantime, we're going to work on your relationship with food. And she was like, huh, no one's ever talked to me about my relationship with food. And some of that comes down to, conversations that her and I have, was that she really didn't understand what I was doing as a health coach. And she was like, oh, well, I didn't know that that's what you did. Like, I just wondered who would pay you to be a health coach. Well, that hurt me. I took that personally, like, wow. um,
Well, the scale is interesting because I according to the BMI charts, I'm overweight. But my doctor luckily does in-body scanning instead. So
mhm.
I have a very high muscle percentage. So I'm heavy. My bone density is also really high. It's 3.5 times higher than the average person. So my skeleton's also heavy. I wear a size 4, small in leggings. I'm not a big, I don't, I'm not overweight. I was, but I know I'm not now. But I sit about 155 pounds at 5'4", and I get down to like 148 for a competition. Not because it's because of my, I don't lose too much weight because it affects my strength, but I want to have a good coefficient, which is the calculation for powerlifting. But I'm not doing it for any other reason than that. But yeah, the scale is a big liar. So if you're going to work out and lift weights, ladies, this, and I have a whole blog post on that showing pictures of women before and after. They weighed less before and they weigh more now, and they are much fitter. So I did a whole post on that. So if you're going to lift weights, you really got to ditch the scale, because the same amount of muscle and fat, if you have volume wise, they don't weigh the same. So this much muscle weighs like the same as about this much fat. So that needs to be taken into account. So
And
yes.
that is absolute something that is misinformation out there for people.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that as well. Because the lady that I found my weight loss program through was a 50-year-old woman. And that's what she was saying, was like, look, this is your BMI is totally bullshit. Like, and she would show like the difference in her bone density scans, the difference in her uh, muscle versus fat. And she would, post pictures and like even x-rays, so you could see that difference even on an x-ray. Um, and so that helped me move kind of away from the scale and the BMI and all of those things that I put so much belief in, which was misinformation. So, I would love to, share your blog as well out to my group of people, so that they can be informed and educated. Um, So thank you too for bringing that up, because that is definitely misinformation that's out there.
Yes.
So what advice would you give to individuals who are kind of facing their own health challenges and obstacles, but are unsure about pursuing strength training or powerlifting?
Oh gosh. Well, first you do gotta cautiously talk to your doctor. A lot of doctors will say, "Oh no, you can't do that." With me, you start small. You start very small. I was quarter squatting the bar, which means I couldn't even get down low enough with the bar. The bar weighs 45 pounds for reference. I couldn't bench the bar. I was so unstable. My body was just so unstable. Um, I did start a lot on machines. I think they help a little bit more because you can stay balanced, but you do need to add some free weights. And I get a lot of injuries. And that's another thing. Oh, people think, well, you get injured, you stop going to the gym. No, I have worked out through herniated discs, broken bones, torn joints. What do? I tore this joint right here because I'm super flexible, and I did actually that was a lifting mistake. How I was holding the bar, my joints are too flexible, and so it torqued, and it just ripped up both ends. So that was a bad one. I couldn't lift overhead at all. So I didn't. So what did I do? I go find other movements that work. I've had my knee injuries. Did I stop leg day? No. I found machines I could still work on and not cause more pain. I herniated a disc, actually. I've herniated four. This one, I was shaving my legs, actually. That was how I did that one. And it was a pretty bad one. And I talked to my doctor. We decided we were going to deadlift through it because it was important to rehabilitate this quickly. What deadlift does is it keeps the muscle in the lower back. So it gives your disc space. So your disc can kind of go back into place. So I lowered my weight, and I was literally limping and barely able to walk getting into the gym, do my light deadlift because I did lower my weight, and I walked out fine, just fine. And I actually competed within 4 months. My first herniated disc took over a year to resolve. So don't let you got to work around things. That's all I have. If you have a lot of tendency for injury and joint pain, you got to work around it. Everybody I know that has back pain and goes to the gym. If I could had $1 for everyone I know that uses the gym to resolve back pain, I'd be rich because it's very important to keep the core strong. So yes, don't be afraid to start, and lift what you can, but don't be afraid to lift. You're not going to get bulky. Trust me, I'm trying. I've been trying for 7 years, and I still don't look like Arnold, surprisingly. So you're not going to look like Arnold. You can lift more than your purse. Your purse weighs so much, you can probably lift weights a little more than that. So, don't be afraid of the weight. You're not going to get bulky. So, and get a trainer. That's a big mistake people make. They want to just go in blindly and figure it out, at least for a few months. Invest in yourself. You are worth the investment. Get a trainer, get somebody who you can work with your medical condition. There's a lot out there, they do know a lot. And get going on a program. You can go on your own eventually, but learn how to do it first, because that's where you're going to get injured, because you don't know how to do it. And you're going to end up injuring yourself, which is just going to discourage you. So get help. Ask for help in the gym. A lot of us in there, we love to help people.
Mhm.
I love helping people. Don't be afraid to say, excuse me, I don't know how to use this machine. Could you help me? It's okay. If you're new and somebody's giving you some advice on form, just don't be offended. Take it, because they're very experienced and they don't want to see you hurt. So let them give you advice, and appreciate it, because they're taking their time to help you. So that's my advice.
Yeah,
And you know,
all perfect.
yeah,
Those were all things that challenges that I faced and that I learned, going to the gym. And then I got to share those things with others. Yeah, teaching them form, showing them the difference between free weights and machines. Um, and for me, I learned I had a love-hate relationship with machines, but I know that they really improved my stability. I also could feel safe because they would click into place,
mhm.
and so they were all great things that I was able to ask questions. And then I became the answer person. And I loved that. I loved that I developed that knowledge and got to share it with others. So I understand that. Um, and you were
And
talking,
don't be intimidated. That's another one. A lot of people are afraid to go in the gym because they think they're going to be judged. That is a very old thought process these days. There, at least I haven't come across a gym where people are that way. You could be the heaviest person in the world, and you walk into a gym, they're not going to laugh at you. They're not going to judge you. They're going to say, "That's awesome. Look at this person. Look, they're starting today." And so nobody's going to judge you. We're busy with our own workout and our own insecurities and our
Mhm.
own struggles. So we're not just waiting for some, overweight person to walk through the door so we can. No, we're actually encouraging it. Come in, let us help you. We're here for you. You're going to be in our team here soon. So just
Mhm.
walk through the door and you can join us in this tribe. That's what it is. Don't be afraid. So,
Thank you for sharing that. And I've noticed there's a new Peloton commercial that's recently come out, and it talks and acknowledges that everybody's starting somewhere else, or and to meet you where you are. Not everybody wants to come in the gym to be Arnold. Some of us just want to come in the gym to be able to walk, to be able to sit, to be able to stand. um, and so it's kind of an inspiring commercial because it goes to that. Not being intimidated, not worrying about people judging you, but to know that it's okay to be where you are, and it's okay to ask questions, and it's okay to accept help, and that the gym really is a tribe,
yes, it
and
is.
so thank you for putting that out there again so people can make that decision to go, that choice to go. And I remember when I first started at the gym, um, like I had never tried like a pre-workout. I didn't know if it was good for you. I didn't know if it was bad for you. I didn't know what it would do. There was always somebody peddling something. And I would see these people and I'm like, oh my God, are they like coked out? These people are going a million miles an hour. Like, where did that energy come from? And then you talk to them and they're like, it was either people who used a pre-workout or people who use that natural endorphin high that just, gave them that motivation and the energy to keep going and keep going and keep going. But it took asking and not being afraid to ask.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So talk about like how it affected not only your physical health, but your mental and emotional well-being.
Oh gosh, I was a mental, we've talked. I was a mental disaster. I had been in a marriage that nearly destroyed me, married to a narcissist who really brought my self-esteem to the very bottom. I felt pretty worthless. I also did not, I I think women, no matter where you are, you have problems with your body image. It doesn't matter. I'm way better. But the thought of wearing like tighter leggings or even shorts, like I would never wear shorts to the gym. Forget that. I remember Tim, my partner, I told him I would never wear shorts to the gym. That's how embarrassing. Um, but the more I succeeded in the powerlifting, it gave me something. It's like, wow, I am good at this. And it's something I'm better at this than anyone else in the country in this organization. I got the top spot in the country for power sports, and for push pull. I mean, the top in the country of everybody. And I did not think I could do that. Like, little old me, I did not think could rise to that level. So my confidence went up in such a good way. And then I guess I think I put that off in the gym, because now people come to me and they're like, wow, you look like you love what you're doing and you're so confident in your lifting. How do I'm like, wow, I didn't realize I put that kind of vibe off. But I do, and I wear shorts in the gym now. And it's not because I want to go show off my legs. It's because when I'm deadlifting, I can't deadlift in leggings. It's very difficult, So, and I can't have shorts that are going to roll up my thighs as I'm squatting down to pick up 400 pounds, So there's a very particular type of short you have to wear, and it's a pretty short pair of shorts. And I am not embarrassed. I don't care. I wear sports bras also because I can't have shirts hanging down tucked into my lifting belt. And so I'm dressing comfortably for my lifts, and it's fine. Now when I walk out, when I go to Flying Star or something after I lift and I still have my shorts on, or even leggings and just a sports bra still, I'm like, okay, now I feel a little inappropriate. But in the gym, I just don't. And I'm confident, and I feel my kids are looking up to me and trying to beat my numbers, which some are very close. And they're boys, of course, they have the advantage of testosterone. But
Mm-hmm.
they think it's the coolest thing, like that their mom is strong, and all of their friends like, wow, your mom can lift so much weight. Your mom's a beast, and so it kind of gives them that little confidence, like, yeah, my mom's a badass. That's kind of cool. So they and their friends all see me. They go to Thin Line where I work out, and they all see me lifting. I don't know them from Adam, but they're watching, And then it gets around to my kids, and my kids are like, "Ah, my friend so and so was super impressed with your lifts." And so yeah, and I love going and helping those kids who are struggling on the bench, doing horrible form. I feel confident enough now to go down and say, look, let me tell you about me really quick, and let me help you. I want to see you not have injured shoulders. I want to see you do the best you can in this lift without hurting yourself. So let's show you some things. And they're very receptive. Um, and so I love that. And so my confidence is out of the bag, I guess, because it's been stuffed in a brown paper bag, buried in a hole of dirt for years, just for so long. I was always made to think I wasn't good enough for anything. It's how my ex kind of made me feel. And so I'm finally feeling like I'm good enough. It's still a struggle. I have my days. I have my moments when I feel like kind of the world crashes down around me a little bit, but I come out of it better, and I can lift myself up again. So powerlifting is not just some kind of macho sport. It's a mental booster. I mean, it's just confidence booster. It just makes you feel wonderful, especially for women. A lot of the women I know in powerlifting, believe it or not, and I have a blog post on this also, they have stories. Women get strong for a reason. And it's usually be women who have been torn down. So if you go in my blog post, you see a lot of those stories. So, and including my own story. So it's a way to show your strength when you had none. So that's what it's done for me.
You are truly an inspiration, Teresa. And, I love that you and I, over the last year plus, have really gotten to know each other on a completely different level and a deep level. Like, I loved our conversation the other day over 2 hours of coffee, just getting to really share those deep seated childhood, whatever issues um, with each other, and how I left our conversation feeling. Like, I was so excited for this episode to share your story, because you are truly such an inspiration to me, and I know you're going to be an inspiration to others. So thank you so much for everything you're sharing here. What, if any, at this moment, like future goals, aspirations, any competitions coming up?
Yes, I have a competition coming up in February. I like as I told you, I've been struggling with a fractured rib for 2.5 years. I actually set that 405 record with fractured rib, but it's wearing on me a little bit, and I kind of I backed off my not powerlifting, just deadlift. It tapered it down just a little, and it's I'm trying to bring it back, and I'm struggling mentally with, I know I'm going to feel that pain, and it's I'm having a huge mental block. I'm so competitive with myself that I've now created a mental little disaster in my head with just that lift. It's I know I can do the weight, but I get so overworked and so anxious that I've actually brought myself to tears during the lift. I've come down to the bar and bawled all over the mat, like tears everywhere, because I just can't feel I feel I can't get myself back. And I'm working on that. And it's a good thing for me to go through. I have to struggle. And every athlete struggles when you get to the kind of the max of where you can top yourself out, and you're teetering on that, pushing your body to the very limit that it can get pushed. It's really hard because you can't maintain that. So you're going to come down, and then you have to build it back up, and then you're going to come down. And the one lift I'm not worrying about is a curls, where you just, curl a bar up.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone way up in that because I'm not worried about it. you know, my bench press has gone way up because I'm not worried about it. So my goal is to get out of my head right now and stop being so competitive with myself. I'm going to go to this meet. My numbers are going to be where they are for deadlift. That is what it is. And the thing is, I'll still win the competition. And I mean, that's not a bragging statement. It's just that my numbers are high. Even my low numbers are high. But I will win it, and it'll bug me, because it's not where I wanted to win it. And I'm having to get out of my head. Stop being so competitive. That's where I am now. I'm so competitive with my own self that I'm causing another mental issue. And but I'm getting through it, and I'm working on it. And so I'm just working on, that's where I want to get back into the loving it and not getting so frustrated with myself. And I'm getting there. I'm just like, okay, it is what it is. Just do it, Teresa. This is just gonna be what it is. But I'm up for some awards during that competition. We're having a banquet, and I'm up for some Athlete of the Year awards. And I just am. My goal is to kick myself in the pants and stop being so. Oh gosh, stop pushing myself. I guess maybe so hard mentally, not physically. I'm not actually. I don't overtrain because I can't, but I'm pushing myself mentally so hard that it's making me not, enjoy the certain lift as much as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting past that. Dealing with the pain is not fun, and it may be, and it may be he said, my doctor said it could be a central nervous system damage, actually, that it may be it's complex regional pain syndrome, which is an issue we have. So your nervous system just can't let go of the pain. They knew the injury's gone. Maybe the injury is not even as bad as it seems, but your body's just holding on to it. So it may be something I have to live with, and either I do the lift and accept that the pain is there, or I don't, so. And I'm not hurting myself, in case anyone's wondering. It's not causing any damage, or they've extensively looked at that area. There's a small little crack in my rib that has to be MRI'd to be seen. So it's so small that and my other side cracked too, and that one healed. but this side's just not. I think, and I don't know when I did that. I think it was when I fell down the stairs once. So I don't feel injury right away. So that's a whole other issue. But I'm I'm gonna get through it. And maybe maybe I needed to do this to kind of have that kick in the pants to be back on track with the happiness part of it. Um, Tim, my coach, is always pushing. It's a mindset. You gotta just enjoy it. And if you don't get the number you want that day, it's okay. Can't be perfect every time. So that's my
I
goal.
would love to come and support you and watch you compete. I think that would just be amazing. He's right. That mindset is a huge factor for a lot of people for a lot of different things. Perfectionism can drown us. Perfectionism can stop us from even trying. Um, and those are things that if you can, like you said, you're working through it. You're not giving up. You're not starting. You're a work in progress. We all are. Um, and hopefully you will find that love again and find the middle ground or the balance with what you can physically do and what you can mentally do, to find that love again. And I would really love to come and watch you compete. Where else can people find you?
I do have a blog website. It's teresalifts.com. It's TERESA and then LIFTS.com. Yeah, and I do still love the powerlifting. The one lift is just kind of like a little thorn right now. Everything else is great, but yeah, so teresalifts.com. I have a lot of I talk about a lot of different things, not some powerlifting related, some not. So just life in general. So
And those
visiting there.
blogs, it's so helpful, um, for anyone who has a business or has a passion to have blogs available so that people can read at their own time, and
Yeah.
and read when they're ready, and to see that they're not alone, that there are other people in the world that have these struggles and these outcomes, and that there is possibility. And I think, though, that is what I strive to do in what I have on my websites, is to provide that kind of balance for people so that they can see that they're not alone. um, you and I, even just having conversations about our marriages and getting out, and finally, because you live in this lifetime where you think you can't leave. Um,
Yeah.
and so to see that even in the worst case scenario, that there is a way out, there are people out there that can help you get out, whether it's an abusive situation, mentally, physically. um, our culture, for me, it was being told you have to stay. You have to stay. That's just what you do. It doesn't matter if you're happy or not, or abused or not, you just had to stay. And to be able to say, no, I don't. Like, I've done long enough. I'm out.
Yeah, it was hard. It was scary to leave, but I'm glad I did because it would have destroyed me. Yeah. I was at the
Again,
very edge of the cliff, so
you are an amazing inspiration, and thank you so much for your time. It was so good catching up with you. I look forward to, maybe taking a little road trip and coming out and checking out your new gallery. Um, I'm so excited for you. I love your art. We're honored to have so much of it in our house. I'm honored with the pieces that I have hanging on my wall. I have people that come in and go, oh, well, oh, that one says not for sale. I'm like, no, but I can put you in contact with the artist. Um, and just, I also want to thank you for being one of the first artists when I opened my space and had my little pop up, that you came out. And even though I was in my own head about not having foot traffic, like maybe you guys are used to at some of the bigger events, that you were like, it's okay, it's okay. we're here for you, not just for us. Um, you helped me get over my own fears that my ex-husband may find out where I am, and he, is going to see my name on the door, and he's going to show up here, and you're like, we got you back. It's okay. You're going to be all right. You gave me that time and that space to work through my own shit, my own fears, my own limiting beliefs, my own worries. And so, I appreciate what a great friend you have been.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been great chatting with you. Finding somebody who's been in similar situations. It's always refreshing that you're not alone. Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this interview, which I know you will, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Finding Resilience with Leanne. Make sure you subscribe to my Happiness on Tap podcast. Um, Happiness on Tap podcast is available on the go information, education, and inspiration. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and anywhere you find your podcasts. For more information from me, please check out my website, Finding Resilience with Leanne, and make sure you subscribe to my email tribe to embark on a path of self-discovery, empowerment, and a way to find avenues for overcoming life's challenges. So thank you again, Teresa. Thank you for your time. I love this conversation and I appreciate you so much.
And thank you.
Have a wonderful afternoon and we will talk soon.
Okay, thanks.